You know how sometimes dealing with online payments feels like just navigating a maze? So many options, so many complexities.
Yeah, definitely overwhelming.
So today we're going to try and cut through some of that confusion. We're taking a deep dive into Skrill.
Mm,
You've probably seen the name around, maybe used it. Our goal here is really to give you a clear understanding of what it is, how it all fits together.
exactly. And look, we've sifted through, well, quite a lot of information, articles, analyses, you name it, trying to pull out the really key insights about Skrill.
So think of this as your shortcut, maybe. Get the essential knowledge without hopefully feeling buried.
That's the plan. No overwhelm.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. What is Skrill? Fundamental.
Well, at its core, it's a digital wallet and a payment processor.
Okay.
And here's a little history nugget. It actually started way back in 2001 in the UK.
2001. Wow.
Yeah, but under a different name than Moneybookers.
Moneybookers. Okay, I think I remember that name, 2001. That's pretty early in the whole online payment game, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They were definitely one of the pioneers really creating those first digital spaces to hold and move money online. Gave them a significant head start.
And it sounds like they used it. They really hit the ground running.
You did. By 2007, so just 6 years later, Moneybookers was already one of the top 3 e-payment solutions in Europe.
Top 3 in 6 years.
Yeah.
That's impressive growth. What were they doing right?
Well, it definitely points to a huge early demand. People needed easier ways to pay online. And also in 2007, they got acquired by InvestCorp.
Ah, okay. So investment came in.
Exactly. That likely fueled even faster expansion, reaching more users, more merchants.
Right. And they hit another milestone pretty early, too, didn't they? Something about being the first.
Yeah, the first e-money issuer with a license from the UK's Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA.
That's a big deal for trust and legitimacy, I imagine.
Hugely important. And by 2010, they'd scaled up to, get this, 15 million users.
15 million.
And working with about 70,000 businesses globally. So yeah, a pretty significant footprint very early on.
Okay, that really cemented their place, especially in Europe. It set the stage for what came next, right?
It absolutely did. Which leads us to 2011 and a major shift.
The rebrand to Skrill.
Exactly. And it wasn't just cosmetic.
Felt like bigger ambitions were at play.
Precisely. The move to Skrill was very strategic. They wanted a name that could become, synonymous with sending money online, like a verb.
Like Skype me, but Skrill me.
That was the idea. And interestingly, the name Skrill itself
Mm-hmm.
apparently was inspired by Skrilla, slang for money.
Huh. Skrilla. It is kind of catchy, I guess. Suggests something quick, maybe easy.
Hmm. That rebranding finished up around 2013. And during that time, they were also busy expanding in other ways, buying companies.
Right, the acquisition phase. This is where it gets interesting, seeing how they built out their services.
It really is. They started making these strategic buys. A key one was in 2013. They acquired Paysafe card.
Ah, Paysafe card, the prepaid vouchers, right?
Wow.
Big in Europe.
Very popular, yeah. Based in Austria. And think
Right.
about what that did for them.
Well, it opened up a whole different market segment, surely. People maybe without bank accounts or who just preferred using cash for online stuff.
Exactly that. It let them tap into that cash-based online payment world. Super clever move to integrate that into their digital system.
Okay, so they're buying Paysafe card, but then 2013 was busy for them on the other side too.
It was. Also in 2013, Skrill itself got acquired by CVC Capital Partners, a private equity firm.
So they were both the buyer and the bought, all around the same time. Busy year.
Very dynamic period. And then just a couple of years later, 2015, another really big ownership change happened.
This was the big one, right? With Optimal Payments.
Yes, a major consolidation. Optimal Payments, they own Neteller, one of Skrill's main competitors.
Right, Neteller, another big name in digital wallets.
Optimal Payments acquired Skrill. Huge deal. Brought these 2 major digital wallet players under one roof.
Wow. So rivals becoming siblings, essentially. And wasn't there another acquisition around then too, Ucash?
Good memory. Yeah, they also snapped up Ucash, another UK prepaid voucher company, and folded it into Paysafe card.
So really doubling down on that prepaid market while bringing the big wallets together.
Definitely showed a focused strategy. Dominate prepaid, strengthen the core wallet business. And this consolidation led to, you guessed it, another rebrand.
At the group level this time.
Exactly. Later in 2015, Optimal Payments renamed itself Paysafe Group.
Ah, Paysafe. Okay, that's the name we know today.
Right. And Skrill became, and still is, a key brand within that larger Paysafe family. It's been quite the ride, mergers, acquisitions, rebrands.
It really shows how fast that whole fintech world moves, doesn't it? Constant jockeying for position, expanding services.
Absolutely. And since becoming part of Paysafe, Skrill hasn't stood still. They've kept evolving.
Like adding new services.
Yeah, in 2018, they launched an international money transfer service, really targeting remittances initially.
Sending money home, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Trying to offer lower-cost options compared to, say, traditional bank transfers, leveraging their existing network.
Makes sense. Big market.
Mm.
And 2018 was busy again, wasn't it? Crypto.
Yes. Same year, they jumped into crypto, added the ability right inside the wallet to buy, sell, hold cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, Ethereum, the main ones.
So responding to that growing interest in digital assets.
Right. Allowing users to manage crypto and regular money all in one place. Convenience factor.
Convenience factor?
Then they added a loyalty program, Next, in 2019.
Yep. Skrill Next, rewarding regular users. And in 2020, they expanded that money transfer service into the U.S. market.
Pushing into North America.
Showing that ambition to grow beyond their European stronghold, competing directly in the U.S. remittance space.
So fast forward to today. Skrill's operating globally, under Paysafe, regulated in the EU by Ireland's central bank, and still by the FCA in the UK.
That's the picture.
It really has come a long way from just being, an early e-wallet.
Absolutely. It's transformed
Yeah.
from an alternative payment method into this multifaceted fintech service. Digital wallets, prepaid cards, international transfers, crypto, merchant processing. It's a broad portfolio now. Okay, great overview of the journey. So now, let's really dig into what Skrill actually offers today. For the user, for you listening, we know it's a digital wallet, but what does that mean in practice?
Okay, so the core is the digital wallet itself. It's a secure online account where you can store funds, use them to pay merchants online, and send money to other people.
Simple enough.
A key feature is the multi-currency support. They handle around 40 different currencies.
40. Wow. That's definitely handy for international stuff, shopping across borders or working with global clients.
Huge advantage there.
And how do you get money in funding the wallet?
Variety of ways. The standard stuff, bank transfers, credit cards, debit cards. But they also usually offer a bunch of local payment options depending on where you are.
So trying to make it easy for pretty much anyone to top up.
That's the goal. Remove the friction.
All right, money's in the wallet. What can you do with it? Where is it typically used?
Wide range of online activities. It's big in e-commerce, obviously. Also very popular in online gaming, betting platforms, forex trading, basically anywhere needing fast, secure online transactions.
Right. And sending money to other Skrill users.
Super simple. Usually just need their email address. It's very quick.
They also have that feature, Skrill One Tap. Sounds like it speeds things up.
It does. If you're a returning customer on a site that uses it, you can authorize payments with just one click. No need to log in again every time.
Ah, nice. Reduces checkout hassle.
Definitely. And for frequent users, they have loyalty programs, Skrill Next we mentioned, and VIP levels that offer perks like lower fees, higher limits, that sort of thing.
Okay, so the digital wallet is great for online stuff. But what about using those funds offline, in the real world?
Good question. That's where their prepaid MasterCard comes in.
Ah, the card.
Yeah, they offer both physical and virtual prepaid MasterCards. They're linked directly to your Skrill wallet balance. It bridges the gap between your online funds and everyday spending.
So the physical card, it works like a regular debit card. ATM withdrawals, paying in shops.
Pretty much, yeah. Anywhere MasterCard is accepted worldwide. You can use it at ATMs for cash, pay at point-of-sale terminals, gives you tangible access.
And the virtual card, what's the use case there?
Primarily designed for online shopping. Some people like it because it adds a layer of separation from their main bank account, maybe feels a bit safer for online transactions.
And you manage both cards through your Skrill account?
Yep, all managed online or via their app.
That sounds really practical, especially for, say, freelancers who get paid into Skrill and want to spend those earnings quickly online or off.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned it integrates with mobile pay systems too. Apple Pay, Google Pay.
Yes, that adds another layer of convenience. Tap to pay with your phone.
It does. One important note, though. The availability of the Skrill prepaid MasterCard isn't universal. It's mainly available to residents in certain countries, mostly within Europe. Regulatory stuff, logistics.
Okay, good clarification. Primarily a European benefit for now. So, wallet, cards. What about that specific money transfer service you mentioned earlier, Skrill Money Transfer?
Right. Launched in 2018. This service is specifically focused on international remittances. sending money across borders to individuals.
Not just Skrill user to Skrill user.
No, the key difference is you can send money directly to someone's overseas bank account.
Ah,
You can fund the transfer using your credit debit card or your Skrill wallet balance.
and the costs. International transfers can get pricey.
Skrill often promotes low or even zero fees for certain popular transfer corridors. They handle the currency conversion too, so it can be a much cheaper option than traditional bank wires, depending on the route and amount.
And crucially, the recipient doesn't need a Skrill account.
Exactly. That's the main point of this service, sending direct to bank accounts. Makes it much more useful for typical remittances. And as we said, they expanded this to let U.S. users send money internationally in 2020.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, crypto, they jumped into that world too. Seems like a big addition.
It was, yeah. Recognizing the trend, back in July 2018, they added the ability to buy, sell, and hold crypto right within the wallet.
So Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., alongside your regular currency.
Exactly. You can trade between your fiat balance and various cryptos. Skrill basically acts as the broker or intermediary for those transactions.
Facilitating the fiat to crypto exchange.
Right. And they've even gone a step further recently with a product called Crypto On-Ramp for businesses.
Crypto on-ramp, what's that?
It lets other websites or apps integrate a Skrill widget, allowing their users to buy crypto using their Skrill accounts.
Huh. So Skrill wants to be part of the plumbing for crypto purchasing across the web?
Seems like it. Shows ambition beyond just their own user base. And Paysafe, their parent company, did say that crypto activity was a big driver of their increased transaction volume in 2020.
Interesting. But I assume all this is subject to identity checks. KYC.
Oh, absolutely. Standard procedure for financial platforms, especially with crypto, got to comply with regulations.
Okay. Now, Skrill isn't just for us individuals, right? They have a whole side focused on businesses, merchants.
Absolutely. That's a huge part of their operation. Skrill acts as a full payment service provider for businesses.
Meaning merchants can use Skrill to accept payments on their websites or apps?
Exactly. And the big selling point is the range of payment methods they enable.
How many?
Through one single integration with Skrill, a business can potentially accept over 100 different local payment methods.
100. Okay, that's massive, especially for global businesses.
It's a huge advantage. It includes major cards, other digital wallets, direct bank transfers, mobile options popular in specific regions. They cover a lot.
So Skrill acts as the gateway and the processor, handling the whole transaction.
Yes, they process cards like Visa and MasterCard, but also tons of alternative methods. Think Ideal in the Netherlands, Pioli down in Australia and New Zealand, and of course, Paysafe card vouchers.
And naturally, customers with Skrill accounts can pay using their wallet balance.
Right, through what they call Skrill Quick Checkout. Fast and easy for existing users.
And for the businesses running e-commerce stores, like on Shopify or WooCommerce, is integrating Skrill difficult?
Generally, no. They provide ready-made plugins and extensions for, I think there's over 22 popular platforms now. Shopify, WooCommerce, Magento are the big ones.
So pretty plug and play for many online stores.
Largely, yes. Makes it much easier than building a custom integration.
What other features do they offer specifically for businesses?
Things like support for recurring payments, essential for subscriptions, the one-tap feature for faster repeat purchases, tools for managing refunds, and importantly, chargeback management.
Chargebacks. Always a pain point for merchants.
Right. Skrill often highlights that merchants get some protection against chargebacks for payments made via the Skrill wallet or instant bank transfers. That could be a really big benefit, especially in certain industries.
Yeah, I can see that being attractive. So overall, their merchant services put them up against the likes of Stripe, PayPal, Adyen.
Definitely. Offering a broad suite of payment acceptance tools through one platform.
And you mentioned earlier, Skrill sits alongside Neteller and Paysafe Card within the Paysafe group. Do they work together much?
Yeah, there's often cross-integration. You might use Paysafe Card to fund a Neteller wallet, for instance. They leverage the whole ecosystem. Skrill also does sponsorships, football clubs, gaming events to boost visibility, and they've won awards like Best Digital Wallet.
So putting it all together, Skrill operates on these two main fronts: individual finance tools and business payment processing.
Exactly. Aiming for global, frictionless transactions across a whole spectrum of uses.
Okay, got a solid picture of what Skrill is and what it does. Now, who's actually using it? Where in the world is it most popular? Let's talk about the user base and reach.
Sure. Skrill has built up a really substantial global footprint. They operate in over 100 countries, support those 40-plus currencies we mentioned.
And the user numbers.
Currently, they report over 40 million individual consumer users globally.
40 million. That's significant. And merchants.
Around 170,000 businesses accepting Skrill payments. So yeah, pretty considerable scale.
Geographically, where's their stronghold?
Historically, and still strongest, is Europe. Makes sense, starting in the UK. Very established there and across the EU.
What about the US? You mentioned they're expanding there.
They are, but brand recognition and usage have traditionally been lower compared to, say, PayPal. They're working on it, though, especially pushing the money transfer service and getting more U.S. merchants on board.
And other parts of the world, Asia, Latin America, Africa.
Yeah, they have a growing presence in those regions, too. In many of those markets, credit card use for online stuff isn't as dominant, so there's a big appetite for alternative digital payments.
So Skrill fits that need.
It does. They've gained traction by offering locally relevant options. And globally, they're very popular within certain online niches, online betting, poker, that kind of thing.
Okay, so who's the typical Skrill user, if there is one? Demographics.
Well, a big chunk seems to be more tech-savvy folks. People active in online gaming, betting, maybe crypto trading, freelancers.
People doing a lot online, often internationally.
Exactly. Users who value the speed, the security, the ease of moving money across borders for whatever they're doing online.
Fits with the crypto and international transfer features.
Right. And then there's the remittance user-based people sending money home via Skrill money transfer. Plus, small online business owners, entrepreneurs using it for payments, especially internationally.
How does that 40 million user base stack up against the competition, like PayPal?
It's substantial, for sure, but good to keep perspective. PayPal has, what, over 400 million active users globally? So Skrill is smaller, but still has a very wide reach and a dedicated following.
Okay. And on the merchant side, what kinds of businesses are most likely to accept Skrill? Any specific industries?
They have a really strong foothold in industries sometimes labeled higher risk. Online gambling, iGaming, sports betting sites, Forex brokers, esports platforms.
Why those specifically?
These businesses often appreciate Skrill's experience in those sectors, plus specific features like faster payouts and maybe better chargeback handling.
But it's not only those niche areas, right?
Yeah.
Mainstream e-commerce, too.
Oh no, definitely not limited. More and more general e-commerce retailers are adding Skrill. Why? To give customers more choice beyond just cards.
Especially international customers who might prefer local methods.
Exactly. Those integrations with Shopify and others make it easy to add. And Skrill's ability to handle all those local payment methods is a huge draw for businesses selling globally.
Okay, so summarizing the reach. Diverse global user base, strongest in Europe but growing elsewhere. Popular in specific online sectors like gaming, but also increasingly adopted by mainstream e-commerce wanting global options.
You got it. That worldwide reach, the multi-currency support, the wide payment method acceptance, those are key drivers for their growth.
Right. Now, the world of online payments, it just never sits still, does it? What are the big industry trends impacting Skrill right now, shaping its future?
Oh, several huge ones. The most obvious is just the massive rapid growth of digital payments overall.
People moving away from cash.
Massively. Digital wallets are going totally mainstream. What was the stat? By 2024, wallets were handling over 20% of all online payments globally.
20%.
And projections show billions more users coming online, the market hitting trillions of dollars by like 2028. This whole shift just creates this massive tailwind for platforms like Skrill secure, fast alternatives.
Makes sense. More digital transactions mean more business for digital wallets. But it's also getting crowded, isn't it? The competition.
Insanely competitive. You've got the giants, PayPal, Stripe, plus tons of mobile wallets, neobanks popping up everywhere. Everyone wants a piece of that growing pie.
So how does Skrill respond?
Well, by expanding their own services, as we've seen. Also by specializing in niches where there's strong iGaming, Forex, often working alongside Neteller. We've also seen consolidation like Paysafe buying both Skrill and Neteller. Suggests bigger, broader platforms are maybe the way forward.
And collaboration, too.
Yeah, that's becoming key. Like Skrill partnering with Coinbase for crypto buys in the U.S. In this world of APIs, you need to be able to connect and play nice with others.
Speaking of crypto, that adoption trend has been huge. How's that played out for Skrill?
Big impact. Crypto going more mainstream as investment, maybe even as payment. Skrill adding trading back in 2018 was right on trend.
Positioning themselves early.
Exactly. Offering that service, plus the crypto on-ramp for businesses, puts them in a good spot to benefit as crypto use grows. But the regulatory side is still shaking out. That's the big unknown that will keep shaping their crypto offerings.
Right. Another big area, cross-border stuff, e-commerce, remittances. That market's big too.
Absolutely. Global trade keeps growing. Lots of people working abroad, sending money home. Huge demand for cheap, easy cross-border payments.
And Skrill Money Transfer targets that directly.
Precisely. Plus, global platforms need easy ways to pay out to users worldwide. And things like real-time payments are emerging. Skrill needs to integrate with all that, like they did with Rapid Transfer.
What about regulations? Things like open banking, PSD2 in Europe. How does that affect Skrill?
Big impact, especially in Europe. PSD2 meant they had to build open APIs, implement strong customer authentication for payments.
More hoops to jump through.
Initially, yes, investment needed, but it also forces them to modernize, potentially opens up new partnership opportunities through those APIs. And generally, there's just this global focus on security, compliance, two-factor authentication, AI for fraud detection. Skrill has to keep investing heavily there to maintain trust.
Okay, final trend. Us, the consumers. What do people want from payment platforms now? How's Skrill adapting?
Speed, convenience, low fees. Those are table stakes now.
One-tap checkout, instant transfers.
Yeah.
People expect that stuff.
Totally. And trust is paramount. Buyer protection. Skrill may be historically focused a bit more on the sender, but there's growing pressure for stronger consumer protection across all alternative payments.
And the mobile experience.
Crucial. Has to be smooth, intuitive. Bottom line, Skrill, like everyone else, has to constantly innovate just to keep up with what users expect in this super competitive market.
So it sounds like a really dynamic space. Huge opportunities with the digital growth, but also intense pressure from competition, tech changes, regulations, and demanding users.
That sums it up perfectly. Their success hinges on navigating all that. Keep innovating, keep delivering value.
Okay, we've covered a lot. History, services, trends. Let's get a bit more technical for a moment. How do developers actually integrate with Skrill? What are the APIs and technical capabilities like?
Right. Skrill offers a few ways for developers to connect. Historically, the main tools were the Skrill Payment Gateway API that had the Automated Payments Interface API for starting payments, and the Merchant Query Interface MQI for checking statuses.
Older style APIs.
Mostly HTTP-based, yeah. Documentation was often in PDFs. More recently, under Paysafe, they've pushed a more modern, RESTful API, the Paysafe Payments API. Skrill is a key part of that newer API.
So developers might use either, depending on what they need. And how do they prove they're allowed to connect? Authentication.
Super important, obviously. Merchants get credentials, a merchant ID, usually an API password or a secret word. The older API often use these with an MD5 hashed signature for security.
To make sure the request is legit and untampered?
Exactly. And everything has to be over-secure HTTPS-TLS. The newer Paysafe REST API typically uses API keys. And for things like open banking under PSD2, it's even stronger certificate-based auth, OAuth 2 protocol, high security.
Okay. And how does a developer actually build Skrill into their site or app? What are the main integration methods?
Several ways. The most common for accepting payments is probably the hosted payment page or redirect method.
Where the user leaves the merchant site briefly?
Yeah. Customer clicks pay, gets redirected to a secure Skrill page, logs in, pays, then gets sent back to the merchant site with a confirmation.
Why is that popular?
It's simpler for the merchant, mainly. Skrill handles all the sensitive payment details, which massively reduces the merchant's PCI compliance burden, less security hassle.
Makes sense. What about more advanced stuff? Payouts, recurring billing?
For those, merchants can use direct server-to-server API calls. More complex, needs more technical skill, but gives more control.
And mobile apps.
They offer mobile SDKs, software development kits, and guidelines. Often involves using a web view to show the Skrill payment page within the app, or an SDK that wraps that redirect flow neatly.
And the easiest route for many?
Probably the plugins. Those pre-built extensions for platforms like Shopify, WooCommerce, they handle most of the API stuff behind the scenes. Much easier for store owners without deep tech skills.
Okay, let's break down those core API uses. What are developers actually doing with these APIs most often?
Number one is accepting payments at checkout, for sure. Using the API to take cards, local methods, Skrill wallet balances, all through that single integration, often via the redirect flow we talked about.
Getting paid by customers.
Yeah.
Fundamental. What else?
Recurring payments is big. Subscription services need that. The API lets them set up initial authorization, then charge automatically later. Same idea for one-tap payments, authorize once, click to pay later.
And sending money out. Payouts.
Yes, another major use case. Businesses using the API to send funds from their Skrill account to other Skrill wallets or direct to bank accounts. Think marketplaces paying sellers, rewards programs, refunds, even payroll sometimes.
What about getting data back out? Reports, transaction history.
Yep, the older Merchant Query Interface, MQI, lets developers query for transaction status, balances, history, good for reconciliation. The newer Paysafe APIs and dashboards often use webhooks too.
Webhooks. So Skrill pushes updates automatically.
Exactly. Instead of the merchant constantly asking, did that payment go through,
Yeah.
Skrill can send a real-time notification, payment successful, or transaction failed
Mm.
to the merchant system. Much more efficient.
And for global businesses, how does the API handle all those currencies and local payment options? Does the developer have to code for all that?
Mostly, no. Skrill handles a lot of that complexity. The developer usually just specifies the currency and the customer's country in the API call. Skrill system then figures out which local options to show and handles the currency conversion. Big simplification for global apps.
Finally, what about help for developers? Documentation, support, testing tools?
Skrill provides official integration guides, often PDFs. The Paysafe Developer Center is the main hub now for the unified API docs, code examples, SDKs. There's also a sandbox environment,
A testing area?
right, where developers can play with the API, simulate payments, without using real money. Support is available via email, phone, and those plugins for e-commerce platforms are a key resource, simplifying things massively. They also have a dedicated developer portal for PSD2 stuff.
So sounds like a pretty comprehensive technical offering, flexible, multiple ways to integrate, with ongoing efforts to modernize and simplify through newer APIs and tools like plugins.
That's the goal, yeah. Give developers the tools to securely integrate Skrill's payment options and reach customers globally without, hopefully, too much headache.
Okay, that's the official picture. But what about the developers actually using Skrill day to day? What's the word on the street in the developer community? What's the feedback like?
Good question. Looking at forums, feedback sites, case studies, you get a pretty decent feel for it. One thing that often comes up positively is the initial integration process.
Easy to get started.
Many developers report it's fairly straightforward. Often just need your merchant ID, the secret key. And those plugins for Shopify, WooCommerce, etc., constantly mentioned as a huge time saver.
Yeah, that ease of setup must be a big plus, especially for smaller teams or less experienced devs.
Absolutely. Another positive is the wide compatibility and flexibility. That access to 100+ payment methods through one integration, that's a major draw, especially for businesses selling internationally. Developers appreciate not having to integrate dozens of local options separately.
Makes sense. What about performance? Is the platform seen as reliable? Fast?
Generally, yes.
Hmm.
Feedback suggests it's pretty stable. Downtime doesn't seem to be a frequent complaint. Transaction speed, especially wallet-to-wallet, is often praised as being very quick. Smooth processing, particularly internationally, gets mentioned too.
And if developers do run into problems, how's the support experience?
It varies, as always, but we see positive reports. Developers mentioning helpful support teams, getting clear guidance on tricky bits like callback URLs or specific API parameters. Having regional phone support helps too. And being part of the wider Paysafe group means sometimes support resources overlap.
Are there specific success stories or common examples people point to?
Yeah, you see things like freelance marketplaces using Skrill for payouts to their global freelancers. They report better user satisfaction, sometimes lower fees compared to other options.
Okay.
Gaming sites mention seeing better conversion rates by offering Skrill's local payment methods. And platforms like Reply, connecting tutors and students globally, have apparently found Skrill easy to set up for their needs. Real-world examples like that carry weight.
Definitely. And the big one, security and compliance. How do developers feel Skrill handles that?
This is often highlighted as a major positive. The fact that Skrill, especially via hosted pages, handles so much of the PCI compliance burden is huge for developers.
Takes that responsibility off their shoulders.
Largely, yes. Developers appreciate that Skrill deals with the complexities of PCI, encryption, 3D secure, fraud checks. Plus, adherence to GDPR, PSD2's strong customer authentication. It builds trust. Seeing Skrill as a regulated, secure entity simplifies things for developers.
So overall, the developer buzz seems pretty positive. When things go smoothly, they like the ease of use, the feature range, the reliability, and the security compliance handling.
I think that's a fair summary. The positive sentiment often centers on Skrill, providing a comprehensive global payment solution without excessive integration complexity. That benefits everyone, the developer, the business, and the end customer.
Well, this really has been a deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground on Skrill. Let's try and pull the main threads together, summarize the key takeaways.
Absolutely. We started with Skrill's long history, right back to Moneybookers in 2001, and traced its evolution through acquisitions and rebrands into a key part of the Paysafe group today.
Right. And we explored its really diverse offerings, the core digital wallet, the prepaid MasterCards linking online and offline.
The dedicated Skrill money transfer service for remittances, their move into crypto trading, and the extensive merchant services acting as a full payment provider for businesses.
We also looked at its global reach. Over 40 million users, 170,000 merchants, strong in Europe but growing everywhere, popular in specific niches like gaming, but also adopted by mainstream e-commerce.
And we can't forget the context. Those big industry trends, the massive shift to digital payments, fierce fintech competition, crypto's rise, the boom in cross-border commerce, and the ever-present forces of regulation and changing consumer demands.
And finally, we touched on the tech side. The APIs, the integration methods, and the generally positive feedback from developers who appreciate the ease of setup, the flexibility, and the security it offers.
Exactly.
So our hope is that for you listening, Skrill is no longer just another logo you see online. Hopefully you now have a much clearer picture of what it is, who uses it, how it works, and where it fits in that complex world of online finance. Maybe that feeling of being overwhelmed has eased off a bit?
And that leads us to maybe one final thought to leave you with. Considering Skrill's journey so far, and how fast everything in digital payments is changing, how might platforms like Skrill weave themselves even deeper into our daily online lives in the future?
Good question.
When new services could emerge, could your Skrill account become even more central? And what does that mean for how you manage money online and for the digital economy overall? Something to ponder as this space keeps transforming.